The alarms started as a soft hum, but within seconds, they grew louder across the base. Corporal Mason was pulled out of his shallow sleep by the cold sting of light washing over his eyes. He blinked. The ceiling was metal, the air sterile, and a strange scent hung in the room clean. Sharp, not earth-like. Mason tried to sit up, but his arms felt heavy. He was strapped lightly, not tightly, but enough to cause confusion. A figure stepped into his blurry view, green skin, long white hair braided over one shoulder, a nurse's cap. Alien, but beautiful beyond anything he had imagined. She leaned closer, eyes wide, her gloved hand shaking slightly as it held an empty syringe. "Don't move," she said. "You're stable, I think." Her voice was soft, unsure. She was clearly not used to handling humans, let alone emergencies. Mason looked around and noticed the high-tech machines blinking beside him. Foreign language flickered across there. Holographic panels. "What did you give me?" he asked, his throat dry. The nurse bit her lip, her green cheeks darkening. It was the wrong vial. I wasn't supposed to use that on a human." Panic stirred in Mason's chest. He tried to sit up again, and this time she placed a gentle but firm hand on his shoulder. "I locked the door," she whispered. "No. One else can know what I did. Please just let me fix this first." He stared at her. She was young, maybe his age or even younger, but her fear looked ancient. The room was silent for a beat too long. Then one of the machines started beeping faster, and the alien nurse's hand flew to the screen. She tapped it, fast and clumsy, mumbling something in her language. Mason could barely keep up. "I'm not going to die, am I?" he said. She paused, then looked straight at him. "Not if I stay here and monitor you closely. Please trust me, human. This is my fault." Mason exhaled slowly, watching her eyes. They weren't like human eyes. They shimmered with thin rings of violet around her. Black pupils. "Tell me your name," he said, keeping his voice calm. She hesitated. "Lazari, I'm a nurse trainee. I wasn't supposed to be alone today. The others left early after the shift change." Mason nodded, his mind racing. A wrong syringe could mean anything. Genetic changes, organ rejection, death, or worse. Lazari seemed to sense his thoughts. "It was a regeneration compound meant for my kind. It repairs cells too fast for humans. It may cause rapid mutation if we don't counter it in time." That was not reassuring. Mason's heart began to pound harder, and the monitor beeped faster again. She reached for another vial from the tray. This time she held it up to the scanner before injecting it. "What is that?" he asked quickly. "A stabilizer," she said. "It should slow the reaction, but you have to stay awake. No matter what, don't sleep yet." He blinked, fighting a wave of dizziness that hit him without warning. The lights above him blurred at the edges. Lazari leaned close again, brushing something across his forehead. It felt like a scanner but warm, not cold like metal. "I'm so sorry," she said again, barely above a whisper. "If anyone finds out, I'll be thrown out of medical service for life." Mason narrowed his eyes. He didn't like being part of anyone's secret, especially when that secret was buzzing through his bloodstream, but her voice was sincere. Her hands moved fast, scanning, adjusting, calculating. She was scared, but she was trying. "What happens if it spreads?" he asked. Lazari's lips pressed together. "Then your body might adapt too fast. You may develop changes. Physical ones. Painful ones." He clenched his fists, trying to remain calm. "You said it was for your kind. What exactly does it do for you?" "It rebuilds tissue," she replied. "Even after damage, regrows limbs, repairs nerves. It's too strong for humans. It makes your body think it's under attack from the inside." Mason swallowed hard. Great, so my immune system might attack my own organs? Lazari didn't respond immediately. Her silence said more than her words ever could. He looked away for a second, trying to focus on the ceiling lights. They were too bright now. Or maybe his vision was getting sharper. Lazari, he said firmly, whatever happens, you can't keep this hidden if it gets worse. Understand? She looked at him again, eyes wet, voice unsteady. Please just give me 1 hour. Let me fix what I broke before anyone else knows. Mason didn't answer right away. He was scared, more than he wanted to admit. But something in her voice held him there. Asterisk. Mason's skin was starting to itch like fire under the surface. The warmth began in his chest and slowly crawled down his arms and legs like something alive. Lazari watched the monitor, then glanced at him, her brows tightening in fear. She opened a drawer and pulled out a round device that lit up as she tapped the center. This is a biocooler, she explained, strapping it to his wrist. It will slow cell activity in the limbs. If I can buy time, the stabilizer will keep your organs safe. Mason stared at her hand as it moved. He noticed how steady it had become, no longer shaking like before. You're not just a nurse trainee, he said without blinking. She paused and looked away, her silence confirming his guess. I'm the daughter of the base medic, she admitted. I wasn't assigned to human care. I just wanted to help when the real nurse stepped out. Mason swallowed the burn in his throat. You picked the wrong time to play nurse, Lazari. Her face fell as she stepped back, her ears drooping slightly like they carried guilt. The beeping from the medical panel slowed, but a red light started blinking in the top right corner. What does that mean? Mason asked without lifting his head. She turned, saw the blinking alert, and quickly shut off the sound. It's a warning. Your nervous system is adapting too quickly. Your senses are starting to change. Mason blinked again. The light seemed brighter than it was 5 minutes ago. The details on the walls were sharper, more vivid. Can I go blind from this? He asked directly. No, she said softly. But you might see too much. Heat patterns. Movement trails. Things your brain doesn't know how to understand. That didn't make him feel better. He rubbed the side of his face and felt his own skin tingling. I can feel my bones pulsing, he said. That's the regeneration process. Your cells are preparing to rebuild something, even if there's nothing broken, Lazari said. He let out a long breath, steadying his thoughts. So I'm becoming one of you? She looked up sharply. No, not even close. But your body is learning from the compound. It's trying to match what it thinks is a healthy pattern. Mason stared at her hands. You're sure I won't die? She opened a new scanner and aimed it at his chest. The results appeared in the air beside her. Right now you're stable, she said with a calm tone. But the next hour is critical. Your body might choose to adapt, or it might collapse. He lay still for a moment. The cold sweat on his back made the blanket cling to him like glue. Lazari moved a rolling chair beside his bed and sat down, pulling her knees up and wrapping her arms around them. You're staying? He asked. She nodded quickly. I caused this. I won't leave until you're safe. Mason studied her face. She looked young, but the worry in her eyes made her seem much older. He tried to sit up again, slower this time, but the room spun, as if gravity had shifted sideways. Easy, she said, reaching out and placing a hand against his shoulder again. Her touch was warm, not cold like before. It felt steady. You've done this before, haven't you? He asked. She hesitated. Once, during training, but not on a human. We use it only in war emergencies when there's no time for surgery, so. This is war medicine? He said through clenched teeth. Yes, and humans were never meant to receive it, she admitted with guilt. Mason looked toward the locked door. If this goes bad, how will you explain my body? She looked away. I don't know. But I would never let them hurt you for my mistake. He raised an eyebrow. You think they'll hurt me? She nodded slowly. Humans are under protection orders. If you mutate, the High Council might see you as a weapon or risk. That didn't help his nerves. So either I live or they'll erase me. Yes, she whispered without hesitation. Mason looked at his hands again. They were glowing faintly now, not just heat. Light, is that normal? He asked with a dry voice. No, she said quickly, jumping to her feet. She opened another container and pulled out a cooling patch, pressing it onto his chest. It's moving into phase 2 faster than expected. Your body is starting to activate dormant systems, she explained. What does that mean in English? He asked. It means your body is trying to evolve into something stronger to survive, she said without looking away from the scanner. Mason clenched his jaw. And if it finishes evolving? You won't be the same man you were, she answered quietly. He met her eyes again. The room was brighter now, and her eyes seemed to glow too. Mason's heartbeat echoed louder in his ears, as if the sound came from inside his head. He could feel the vibrations through the bed frame, the wall, and even Lazari's voice as she spoke. You're entering sensory enhancement, she said while typing quickly on the control panel. Everything is going to feel stronger, louder, brighter. Stay calm or it may spike your vitals again. He nodded slowly, but the light above him flared like a sun, burning his eyes with every blink. I need the lights off, he said through gritted teeth. Without a word, Lazari turned and slapped the wall switch, plunging the room into a soft blue hue from the machines. Mason gasped as the pressure in his head lessened immediately. Better, he muttered, breathing in slower now. She returned to his side and checked the patch on his chest. It glowed faintly, like it pulsed with his blood. This patch is holding, but your body's drawing energy from somewhere else now, she said in a tense tone. He shifted under the blanket, feeling a strange heat in his spine and legs. I can feel my muscles stretching, he said quietly. They're not just stretching, she replied. They're rebuilding, adjusting, responding to the compound you were given. He turned to look at her closely. Her green skin, her silver braid. Her eyes, he could see tiny veins in the whites now, like high-definition vision. This isn't just healing, he said. It's changing who I am. Lazari didn't deny it. She only looked down and whispered, It's why I didn't want anyone to know. Mason forced himself to sit upright again, this time with more strength than before. I'm not sure if I feel sick anymore, he said. That's the transition phase. You're between normal and altered now, she said while scanning his blood levels. His chart floated in the air between them, showing red lines turning green and yellow across. His system. Explain those colors, he asked. Green means cellular balance. Yellow means instability. Red is failure, she said without hesitation. Mason pointed to one flashing yellow line near the heart icon. That one? He asked. Your cardiac rhythm is adapting. It's not failing, just adjusting its beat to match alien regeneration. Cycles, she said carefully. So I'm getting an alien heartbeat now, he asked, raising a brow. Not alien, she said. Hybridized. Your heart's trying to beat faster without tearing itself apart. He rested his head against the wall and closed his eyes for 1 second. No sleep. Lazari snapped, standing up fast. I wasn't, he said quickly, even blinking too. Long can cause neurological misfires during phase 3, she said, waving a tool across his face. Mason opened his eyes again. They felt dry, like the air itself had become thinner. You said phase 3. How many phases are there? He asked. 5, but you can't reach 5. Human bodies can't process that stage, she warned with a serious look. Then stop. Me before I get there, he said, gripping the blanket. I'm trying, she said. But your body is responding faster than predicted. It's like it's eager to survive this way. Mason stared down at his fingers. His nails shimmered faintly under the blue light, like they were made of glass. He curled them into a fist and felt no pain. Only power. I feel stronger, he said flatly. Lazari's face went pale. That's not strength. That's instability peeking into confidence. If you try to move too much, you could tear something inside out. He stilled instantly, gripping the edges of the bed again. What happens if I go into phase 4? He asked slowly. You stop being fully human, she said. That answer made the air feel heavier between them. Mason looked at the locked door. Open it. Let someone else help, he said. I can't, she answered. Why? He snapped. Because if they see you like this, they'll sedate you, extract your blood, and isolate you forever, she said without blinking. He swallowed. His throat was sore, but not from pain, from panic. You're saying they'll treat me like a science project, he said. Yes, she replied firmly. He looked at her closely. You knew this could happen, didn't you? She lowered her eyes. I feared it, but I hoped I could fix it before it reached this point. Mason narrowed his gaze. Why me? You were the only human in the ward. I didn't expect your body to respond this fast. It was supposed to slow you down, not change you, she admitted with guilt. He sat in silence for a few seconds, trying to focus on the soft blue lights dancing along the wall. Then for the first time, he heard something outside the door. Footsteps. Asterisk. The footsteps outside grew louder as they neared the door. Lazari rushed to the panel, fingers moving fast across the controls, muting every sound and dimming the internal lights further. Mason sat upright, the rush of adrenaline sharpening everything in his vision and hearing. The outer corridor lights spilled through the tiny window, and a shadow passed across it, pausing for one breathless second. Lazari didn't speak. She placed one finger over her lips, silently begging Mason to stay still. He gave a small nod, the warmth in his blood now pulsing like fire behind his eyes. Whoever was on the other side moved on, and the footsteps faded back into silence. Lazari leaned against the wall, breathing hard, her chest rising and falling like she had just escaped disaster. They're making rounds early, she said with a shaking voice. I thought you said we had time. Mason replied without taking his eyes off the door. I didn't think they'd check this wing yet. It's supposed to be under repair, she said while pulling a nearby curtain across the bed. The glowing machines were now hidden, their readings silent behind the fabric. What happens if they scan the door logs? Mason asked quietly. I erased my ID from the system. But if they do a full check, they'll see someone was inside, she said. Then they'll know someone broke protocol, he added. She didn't answer. Instead, she checked the patch on his chest again, now faintly pulsing yellow. The stabilizer is weakening. I need to replace it, she said quickly. What happens if you don't? He asked. Your cells might speed up again. You could shift into phase 4 without warning, she warned. Mason gritted his teeth. Then swap it out, he said. Lazari reached for a silver case under the bed and opened it, revealing 3 more patches with strange symbols glowing softly on them. She picked one and peeled it open, then pressed it over the old one on his chest. The reaction was instant. His spine arched slightly as a cold shock spread across his torso, then leveled out like rushing water. Better? She asked while checking the vitals. Mason nodded once. Yeah, cold, but better, he said. Your readings are more stable now. Still enhanced but not mutating. she explained as she scanned the graphs. Mason looked down at his hands again. The faint glow was gone, but he could still feel the strength hiding underneath. I can still feel everything. Like I'm aware of every part of my body, he said. That awareness is from phase 3. Your brain is mapping your whole nervous system constantly now, she said while adjusting the medical interface. That sounds exhausting, he muttered. It is. Most aliens faint during this phase if untrained, she added without looking up. I'm not fainting, he replied. That's what scares me, she said under her breath. Mason turned his gaze to her. You think I'm dangerous now, he said with clarity. She hesitated for just a moment. You could be. If this doesn't stop soon, you'll gain control over things we don't understand, she admitted. Like what? He asked sharply. Reflexes. Beyond human limits, regrowth. Possibly neural access to machines. We don't fully know, she said while backing up a step. Mason stayed silent, thinking hard. You're afraid of me now, he said. I'm afraid of what they'll do to you, she corrected instantly. He studied her. You keep saying they. Who are they exactly? The High Med Council, security, scientists, anyone who finds out what happened here, she said in one breath. You think they'd dissect me? He asked bluntly. They would never call it that. But yes, for safety, for knowledge, for prevention, she confirmed. He pressed his back to the wall, staring at the blank ceiling. I didn't ask for this, he said softly. I know, she whispered while sitting at the edge of his bed. You made a mistake, he added. Yes, she said without looking away. And now we're both trapped in it, he finished. Yes, she repeated as the machines behind the curtain pulsed again. Mason reached for a cup of water beside the bed, but his hand stopped just short of it. Trembling slightly, Lazari noticed. Your coordination's shifting. It's temporary, she said calmly. Or permanent, he replied. No, she insisted. I won't let it go that far. I promise. The door light blinked again. A signal. Someone was coming back. Lazari stood up quickly and scanned the room with panic. We have to move you to the secondary chamber, she said while unlocking a hidden panel behind the storage wall. Mason looked at her, confused. Why? He asked. If they check this room, they can't find you in this condition, she said, pulling open the sliding door to reveal a small dark chamber beyond it. Mason took a breath and slid off the bed. His legs were shaky but held strong enough. She wrapped his arm over her shoulder and guided him forward, her other hand reaching for the control panel. With one last glance back, Lazari shut the chamber door behind them as the hallway outside filled with the sound of voices. The secret chamber was barely big enough for 2 people to stand. The walls were lined with dull silver panels, and the air inside was colder than the medical bay. A single dim strip of light ran across the ceiling, casting a blue glow over Mason and Lazari's faces. He leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling as the aftershocks of the shift trembled through his bones. Lazari stood beside him, her hand on a hidden control pad, watching the readings in silence. They're scanning the rooms, she whispered, though the walls were soundproof. They'll find the empty patch in the bed, Mason said with a dry voice. Let them. I replaced it with a heat dummy. The bed will register normal levels, she replied. Mason closed his eyes for a second and focused on his breathing. Steady and deep. Your vitals are still elevated, but holding, she said while glancing at her scanner. His skin still felt tight, like something inside was waiting to burst free. I don't feel normal, he said plainly. You won't. Not for a while. Maybe not ever, Lazari admitted without looking away from her data pad. His hands were glowing again, faint. Not like before, but still unnatural. I thought the new patch would stop this, he said. It did slow it. But the compound is now fully bonded with your system. You're creating your own version of it inside, she said. Mason tilted his head toward her. So my body is producing alien tech now, he said. In simple words, yes, she confirmed with a nod. He didn't speak for a few seconds. He just stared at his fingers, watching the light flow beneath the skin. I'm not human anymore, he said with a flat tone. You're still you. Just enhanced, she said carefully. He turned his face to her. You really believe that? He asked. I have to, she replied quickly. The silence stretched as the outside footsteps faded again. Mason pressed a hand to his chest. His heartbeat had changed. It was deeper, steadier, more powerful. I'm afraid of what I'll become, he said. I'm afraid of what they'll do if they find you like this, she replied. He looked around the cramped chamber. How long can we stay in here? He asked. A few hours. It has limited air, but we're safe for now, she answered. He ran a hand over his face, feeling his skin hum faintly under his fingers. Tell me something, he said. Anything. She replied, why did you really help me? Not the official reason. The real one, he asked. Lazari paused, her eyes flickering with emotion before she answered. I saw you smile when you first arrived. You weren't afraid of us. You treated us like people, not monsters, she said. He was silent for a moment, absorbing her words. That's all it took? He asked. No one ever smiled at me like that. I thought maybe humans were different, she said as she sat down beside him. Mason leaned his head back against the wall and stared at the ceiling strip light. I didn't know that would lead to this, he said. Neither did I, she said as she reached for his arm and scanned it again. The reading showed rising energy levels in his blood. This isn't stopping, she said softly. What happens now? He asked. We either find a way to reset your system, or you keep changing, she replied. And if I keep changing? He asked again. You might become something no one understands, she said with a calm tone. Then you'll have to hide me forever, he said. If that's what it takes, I will, she said firmly. Their eyes met in the dim glow, both carrying fear, but also something deeper. Mason looked away, pressing a hand over his heart. I can feel it pulsing stronger. Like it's not just blood anymore, he said. That's the core reaction. Your cells are generating power. You've become a life source, she explained. I'm a battery now, he said without emotion. No, you're more than that. You're the first, she said. His eyes snapped to her. First what? He asked. The first to survive this compound outside of my species. The first proof that cross-species adaptation is possible, she said with awe in her voice. That makes me a weapon, he said. No, she replied, shaking her head. It makes you a miracle. But only if no one finds out before you stabilize. A faint hiss sounded above them. The air filters were cycling again. Lazari checked the vent and said, we have to decide what happens next. If they catch us here, it's over for both of us. Mason looked at her carefully, his voice steady. Then we don't let them catch us, he said. Mason sat still, listening to every sound from the air vents above them. He could hear boots walking, voices talking, but none of them paused near the hidden chamber yet. Lazari knelt beside the panel, her fingers moving quickly across the silent controls. I can reroute the power to open a back exit through the storage shaft, she said. Mason nodded once, the glow in his hands now pulsing steady and slow like a heartbeat. How far can we get before they notice we're gone? He asked. If we time it right, 15 minutes. We'll reach the unused quarantine wing, she said. He stood slowly. His legs were stronger now, steady under his weight, but he still felt something building inside him. Lazari opened the side panel, revealing a narrow passage lined with old equipment and dusty vents. "This way," she said, motioning for him to follow. Mason ducked through the tight entrance, his broad shoulders brushing against the cold metal walls. Lazari followed, close behind, her fingers guiding a portable scanner through the dark path. No one had used this route in years. It smelled stale, and every step echoed slightly through the hollow space. "Why does the base even have a tunnel like this?" Mason asked. "For emergencies." "And secrets," she replied. They moved fast, taking sharp turns and slipping between gaps in storage crates and sealed bulkheads. At one point, they passed a long-forgotten window. Mason paused and looked through it, staring at his own reflection. His eyes were glowing faintly, the colors shifting like liquid between blue and gold. "That's new," he said calmly. "It means your nervous system is fully linked with the energy. You're stabilized but no longer fully human," Lazari said while scanning him. "Can you undo it?" he asked. She stopped. "No," she said quietly. He faced forward again, pushing past the crates and stepping into the old quarantine wing. It was dark, silent, abandoned. The lights flickered above as power struggled to reach the old grid. Lazari closed the door behind them and sealed the control pad with her ID. "This area is still in the system as decontaminated. No one will check it for at least a week," she said. Mason sat down on a medical table, breathing slowly, feeling every heartbeat in his chest like thunder. "What am I now?" he asked. "You're the first of something new. A fusion of human biology and alien regeneration. Something no one predicted," she said. "Do you think they'll try to find me?" he asked. "If they notice you're gone, yes. But they'll expect you to be weak or broken." "They won't expect this," she replied. He looked at her carefully. "And what about you?" he asked. "I'm staying," she said firmly. "They'll punish you," he warned. "I don't care," she replied. For a long moment, they said nothing. The silence wrapped around them like a second layer of walls. Then Mason stood again, walking to the far end of the room where a cracked console flickered to life. "I can feel the system," he said while placing his hand near the panel. "What do you mean?" Lazari asked as she stepped closer. "I can sense the machine responding to me. Like it wants to connect," he said while moving his hand across the surface. The console blinked, then powered on fully. "No code, no access required. You just unlocked it without input," she whispered. "I didn't even try. It just opened," he said. Lazari stared at him. "You're not just adapting. You're becoming part of the station," she said. Mason turned to her. "That's not safe. That's power no one should have," he said. "Then we hide it. You'll stay here. I'll bring what you need. And we won't let them see what you've become," she said. "You'll risk everything for me?" he asked. "You didn't leave me behind when I made the mistake." "I won't leave you now," she replied. He stepped forward and placed a hand over hers. "Thank you, Lazari," he said. She nodded. "This isn't the end, it's a beginning. But we decide how it starts," she said. The door lights flickered once more, then died as she cut the power to the wing. They stood in darkness, two silhouettes lit only by the glow of his hands. A human transformed, and an alien who refused to give up on him. Their secret was dangerous, but in that moment, it was also safe, because no one knew where they were, and no one could guess what the future would bring.